you how I do hand applique. I'm going to be working with a dark blue thread so you can really see what I'm doing, and it's a 50 weight cotton thread. Normally I would be using a finer thread. This is Aurifil 80 weight 2-ply thread. It's really fine and it's the same color as most of my orange peels. And so this one just blends into the fabric really well. It gives you a nice invisible stitch. I also have, this is a needle minder, so it's magnetic and it just keeps track of my needles so they don't go missing. And I've got one already threaded with my yellow thread. And I have a applique needle, size 10, and I've got that little knot at the end of my thread tail, which you can see in a previous video on how to make a quilter's knot. And I'm going to start over here. I've already stitched part of this down and it's really nice and invisible, but I'm going to pick up where I left off, which is, it's hard to tell, but it's going to be right in this space right here. So I'm going to bring my needle up from the back and I'm going to come right into the folded area here. So there's my needle. It just came right into that fold of my orange peel shape. And I'm going to pull it all the way through. And right where the thread came out, I'm going to take a small stitch into the background fabric right next to the edge, and I'm going to come up about 1/4 inch away. That's a little bit less. That's a tiny stitch right there. So I'm coming into the folded edge of my orange peel shape, and that's my first stitch. Okay, now here's where I came out. I want to go back down right next to that into the background fabric, back up into the folded edge of my orange peel, and take a stitch. And this is basically what you'll be doing. It's a invisible applique stitch, and trust me, when you've got the right colored thread, you won't see these stitches. Now let me show you what happens if I take my stitch and I am too far away from the edge of my orange peel. So I'm going to come back here into the fold, and you're going to see where the thread travels from where it came out in the folded edge to where I went back down. I'll do it even a little bit more dramatic than that so you can really see. So I'm going to put my needle down. Let's go way out here and come up into the fold. There's my stitch. And you can see that thread. The opposite thing can happen if you go down right next to the shape, but then you come in too far into the shape, so I'm away from the fold there. And now when I come back out next to the folded edge, you're going to see this thread travel. So the idea is to keep your stitches as close to this folded edge as you can, and that's going to produce a nice invisible stitch. But I'll work a little bit farther so I can get to the point of my orange peel, and you can see what I do there. I am almost to the point, and you can see where I've got a little bit of a, oh, there's the fold here from where I turned the seam allowance under. And I want to make sure I can take the tip of my needle and sort of push that fold, make sure it's tucked in there tight. And then I'm going to take a stitch here and come back up. So I'm not catching that folded fabric underneath. I'm still just right on top of my shape. And then my next stitch down and then up, and I'm getting close to the point here. So there's right there at the tip. I've really taken care of my points already when I did the freezer paper and starch method of turning the edges under. But when I get to the point, I'm going to take one stitch right here at the point. I'm going to go down and I'm going to come back up right at the top there. And then I'm going to bring the needle down. I'm going to turn it. Well, before I bring that needle down, again, I've got a little bit of folded fabric underneath the edge there. I just want to kind of use my needle to make sure it stays in place, tuck it in there. Okay, and I'm kind of pinching that with my fingers to hold it. I'm going to take a stitch into the back, and this is going to be a tiny little stitch, and into the fold. And then another stitch here. We're just catching the fold right there, barely. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. Not so great with this dark blue thread, but it would be fairly invisible with the yellow thread to match. And then I would continue taking stitches. Your stitches can be about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch, just depending on how you're feeling, how fast you want to work. And I want to show you how I'm going to end. So let's just pretend that I'm at the tail end of my thread. I usually work until I've got about 6 inches of thread left. So I've come out here at the top, and I'm going to bring the needle down into the back, flip it over, and I like to take a little stitch into the more towards the center of the shape. I'm only catching the background fabric, and then I'm going to tie a knot. Just wrap it, make a circle, and loop it through, and use your fingers to kind of pull it towards the base. And for the 80 weight thread that I'm using, I do a double knot. So I've got a double knot right here in the back. I'm going to take another little stitch into the background fabric only, and then sometimes that knot will pop through the layers, and if it doesn't, that's okay. But this is just a good way to bury the thread tail. And now I took one more stitch. This may be overkill, but that's how I do it. And I'm going to just clip this right close to the fabric. And that's how I end it. And now I would go back in from the back side and start stitching again. And let me show you some that I've already stitched. So these have been stitched with a matching thread, and you can just really not see those stitches. And here's what it looks like from the back side.